You've got questions?
We've got answers.
Tune in Tuesdays at noon on Facebook Live and Insta Live, where we will be hosting a variety of subjects with our community experts.
Hi, this is Annette. I hope you will join us next Tuesday when our stimulating conversation is going to be about loving yourself and body image.
See you there.
Not the easiest, but I can see that we're here. So now what I want to do.
Woo!
You are IT. You're the sexiest IT girl in the world.
Why, thank you, Jill.
Look at you. All right. I want to see if I can find us on here. Here we are. Okay.
Okay.
We'll have to see if, here we go. All right. Sorry about that, everyone.
Yeah.
But we are here now live. Prospectively, we're at our homes, but we are beautiful selves, and it is Tip Tuesday. And I am Jillian, and this is
Michelle. Michelle, and we are here with
the beautiful Annette. Oh my goodness. It's so crazy how it throws you off. You're so ready to go, but then when things go wrong. So I'm going to gather us back in. Here we go. So today we're going to be chatting about body image and self-confidence and finding your confidence with our very special guest, Annette Tello M.S, after her name. I love those important titles and initials, which is so great. You know, Annette was with us last week for our Sex and the Survivor chat, which was amazing. Thank you, Annette. And she is a counselor. She is a cancer survivor specialist, which I love. She's a life coach. She is an author. We're going to talk about that. She is an artist. She helps survivors move forward with their life with her personalized signature programs called Thriving After Surviving. And we are really excited to have her back this week. So before I hand it over to Michelle, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to grab a paper and pencil because Annette is going to give us some writing exercises and activities as we go. So before we jump in, as always, Michelle, I have to ask, do we have any housekeeping that needs to be done?
Yeah, Jill, we absolutely do. I wanted to share with everyone who's out there that all the information that you're going to see today is on our website. So if you were on our website and you scroll down to Outreach with Annette, you will see by clicking on the tab all of the information about her complimentary consultation calendar. So if you have any questions for Annette and you would like to just sit down with her for about 15 minutes, you can fill it in on the calendar and she will give you a complimentary session, which is such a gift for all of us. There's also a private section where you can ask Annette any questions that you might not want to share publicly. And then there's also, you can repeat watch our Sex and the Survivor series. You can also listen to it as a podcast. And of course, there's also a link to Annette's book, which we are going to today be addressing pretty much chapter 4, which is all about making yourself a priority and self-care.
Fantastic. So are we ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let's ask Annette. All right, Annette. So I have a lot of questions for you, but I want to start with something very basic, not just for survivors, but as human beings. And I think this goes for men as well as women. As human beings, we are absolutely bombarded, especially on social. It's not even magazines anymore. You know,
Right.
We are bombarded on social with images of youth and perceived perfectionness, you know, what's considered perfect. And I feel on social, you know, how do we stop comparing ourselves to others in general?
That's a great question. And I think it's important when we're comparing as women, when we compare ourselves to other women, especially on social media, it's important to have the correct context. Remember, we talked about that last week. And the context is comparing our looks to what is a commercial beauty model, which is a made up image, right? The ideal woman doesn't really exist. It's an altered image of what a woman should look like, right? So in this society, we're not made to feel comfortable in our own skin, in our own body, because we have advertisers and companies that want you to buy a product to fix you because, you know, your hair is too curly, your nose is too big, you know, your butt's not round enough, you want, you know, plastic surgery, you know, false lashes, whatever it is. So our society is going to produce images that make women feel less than and make them feel like there's something wrong with them that has to be fixed, and they have the solution. So I read a research when I was getting ready for this program that said 5% of the women in our society feel that they fit the image of the ideal woman who's beautiful, the ideal beautiful woman.
5%.
5%.
Right. So that means 95% of the women who took this survey felt they were unattractive. And that's really sad that in this society, we're made to feel unattractive so somebody can make money off of us. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when you see those images on social media, just be aware that they're not real. Even models who are like the 5% of beautiful, they get altered and they get photoshopped because they have imperfections too. So even the beautiful women are altered.
And, you know,
right?
it's very interesting because I had this kind of realization the other day, because I think for the most part, we're also used to hitting a swipe. You know, let me just fix that up a little bit. Or I can make my lips look bigger because I have easy Photoshop. You don't have to be a pro to do it. I can make my brows look bigger. I can do anything I want, right? But then recently, I haven't been out in months, but I stepped out, masked, very distant. And I wanted to buy something. I looked in the mirror and I was like, can't Photoshop that. That's very real. That's like right in front of me. So I feel like in a way, we're often lying to ourselves to make ourselves feel better too. And in that comparison. So, you know, I think that I get it. And, you know, people want to sell something, but I hear your point. So you're saying, just remember at all times, it's always, the companies are trying to sell us something in a perceived way of, well, society says this is beautiful. In the 90s, skinny eyebrows were beautiful. Now, if you don't have massive thick eyebrows, you're not considered beautiful. It's like, we plucked them all out. What am I supposed to do with that?
Those were like paper thin. They were just like a little line, you know.
They were a little line.
Yeah. So that changes. So even because they want you to, they're selling products, right?
Okay.
And so for an action step to help you in this area, it's really take a look at your social media and delete all those things that make you feel bad about yourself, your body.
Okay.
And a lot, and you, when you see the image, you know they're Photoshopped. They just look, the women look plasticky. They don't look natural. They look kind of like, you know,
those are like brat dolls. Everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't actually look real when you take a moment. So just take a moment to be conscious about what you're looking at. And if you can stop the automatic assumptions where like, oh, I should look like that, just stop that and just say, this woman is not even a real person because she's been altered. So she doesn't even look like that.
Right.
And then just so for a quick action step is just eliminate those images that make you feel bad about yourself, because in reality, everybody's trying to sell you something, and this society wants women to feel bad about their bodies and themselves.
Yes. And you know, Victoria, who's watching right now, I agree with you 100%. Beauty is subjective and that's true. We have to remember that what's beautiful to one is not beautiful to another, and vice versa. What I find it beautiful, you might not find beautiful. So I think that's another point too, that somebody brought.
Correct. And 95% of the women, that means basically all of us, you know, don't feel that we're attractive. And the thing is that when you go out in the real world, you don't see 95% of the women you meet are unattractive.
No.
No.
Everybody's beautiful in their own way. It's the opposite.
Us is basically ugly and unattractive. So that's what. So and that's not what society is. I mean, that's not the reality of our life, right?
Okay.
Women
great.
are out there that are gorgeous, and they may not be the 5%. And so we have to stop believing what the commercialized, companies want us to believe.
It's a great point. Michelle, did you want to say something before I ask a question?
No.
Okay. So you had your pen. I was like, oh.
I have my pen. I'm writing down.
Okay.
In this
All right.
next, we're going to use it. Okay.
Okay, so now let me move on to survivors.
Okay.
Any survivor or anybody that has been through some kind of alteration in their body,
Mhm.
right? So how do we stop comparing our now bodies, our 2020 bodies to our prior bodies, whether it be weight gain, scars, lymphedema,
Yeah.
you know, like my funky arm or all of it? Like, how do we stop longing for what was versus what is?
Okay, that's a great question. And I think after completing treatment, I think women need a time to adjust. And it's really a time to grieve because, you know, there's a loss there. Your loss of your health, maybe a loss of function of the body, a loss of your breast. So you have to give yourself some time to grieve and process that. And the next step is to treat yourself with self-compassion. That's really the key. And what I found in working with hundreds and hundreds of women with breast cancer, that I saw that they were so loving and compassionate to all the people in their lives and people in their community, friends and family. But when it came to themselves, they didn't extend that compassion to themselves. Like, these women were really hard on themselves. And I had to remind them, like, hey, wait a minute, you deserve some of that self-compassion too. And so when you practice self-compassion, you can acknowledge that you're suffering. And when you acknowledge you're suffering, then you can take steps to alleviate that suffering. And that's like self-care, right?
I love that. So grieve. I like that you said allow yourself to grieve.
Yes.
We don't,
yes.
I don't think we do that in general as women. I think we just, you got to move on. Why can't I just be what I was? And I'm not grieving it. It just move on. And we want what was, you know?
But isn't that a product of all these things, like be strong and you're so courageous, and you know, and I think that does a disservice for women, because what I have found is when women are going through cancer, they're trying to be strong, and the thing is that they don't want to they're afraid to break down or be weak because they're afraid their family's going to be upset, right? So they put on this facade as I'm so brave, I'm so strong, they don't complain. They clean the house, they try to, you know, do everything as they did and they did before cancer, and it's really wreaking havoc because they're not taking care of their needs.
So grieve and then have compassion,
For yourself.
when you, I mean, do you think it's healthy for a woman or any survivor, I say men too, I'm going to bring them in on
Yeah.
this, when to settle into who we are now? Do you think it's healthy to like just look at yourself naked and just be like, because a lot of us avoid that, you know, a lot of women after breast cancer don't even like to look down.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
They
a
talk
comment
about
we get
that.
a lot. That's a comment we get a lot.
It's the process. It's a process. And maybe, you know, you can look at yourself with your underwear on to begin with, and maybe just do it gradually until you're ready, but allow yourself that time, because it's hard. It's hard to do. When you see yourself kind of scarred up, and it's devastating. It's traumatic. So, you know, part of it is don't see yourself naked until you're ready. Give yourself that time to adjust. And when you're ready, you'll know it. And don't push yourself.
Okay. So take it at your own pace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't push yourself, because it's
Right.
traumatic. It's very traumatic. Give yourself time.
Traumatic. And you have to accept it, because if you don't accept where you are now, isn't that so psychologically damaging to you moving forward?
Yeah, when you don't accept it, what you're doing is you're just repressing what you're feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to feel what you're feeling. So the other part, which we're going to go into a little bit later, is just
Okay.
letting the feelings come in and not repressing those, because then that's when you get depressed, and that's when you have all these other, that's when you self-medicate, because you're not allowing yourself to feel what you need to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And just release it. Instead, you're just stuffing it down, and so that creates more problems.
Okay.
Feel the
So
feeling.
here's another one too. I think that this is something I feel like we do.
Before we go on, let's do the little activity for
I'm
this.
sorry, you're right.
Activity.
I love activity. I apologize. Yes. Okay.
No worries.
Okay.
Okay. So everybody who's listening, get your paper and your pencil or pen ready. And I want you to take a minute and just close your eyes, take a deep breath and close your eyes. And I want you to visualize you have a dear friend that's coming to you. And picture someone in your life that's a female that you love very much. Someone who you already know. And just say that due to an accident, she's had to have some surgery, And due to that surgery, she has scars on her body and on her chest. And she's telling you that she really hates herself now. She hates her body, and she wishes that it was like it was before. Take a moment to take that in. And this is someone you love dearly, who's an amazing person. Now, take a moment and write down, what would you say to this dear friend to help her alleviate some of the suffering she's going through because of how she feels about her body and her scars? Take a moment. Let's take 2 minutes and write down what you would say to her. Okay, would you like to share?
Michelle, you want to go first?
Sure, absolutely. I said, you're enough.
Mhm.
You are enough as is, and give her a big hug. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I said, you're not your scars.
Yeah.
You're not your
So
scars.
that's lovely. So I want the women who know that are at home listening, that whatever message you wrote down, that message is for you. Okay.
I love that. That's a good one. I like that. That was a great exercise. That was a
Yes.
great exercise. Thank you for that.
Welcome. Because when I work with women and I know they're compassionate, I have them imagine someone that they love that's suffering and give them compassion, and then envelop themselves in that same compassion. So this activity kind of does the same thing. It's
I
just
love it.
extend compassion to you.
I love it. And I really appreciate it. And Laurel, who is one of our beautiful self-volunteers, she's one of our liaisons. She's out there watching. Hi, Laurel. And she said, it's hard because a lot of people push you, well-intended, to move on. So this was a comment from before, I'm just seeing in the scroll, and that they mean well. So,
Right.
you're so right by saying, do it at your pace and
Right.
slow, and what makes
Yes.
you feel good.
Well, when you're grieving someone, say you lost somebody that you love, nobody outside can tell you, oh, you should grieve 6 months and you're going to be okay. Like, everybody does it at their own pace. So, and there's no deadline that it's a norm for everyone. So this is the same thing. You give yourself the time that you need.
It's beautiful. Okay, that was a great exercise, and I'm going to move to the next question, but that was really profound. That was really amazing. So this one is kind of interesting because I think as women especially, and survivors for sure, we feel very judged by our looks, right? We identify with our body, our hair, our breasts, our waistline. So a lot of times we tell ourselves stories that might not be happening. Like, for instance, I never had a big belly, right, before. So now I have a belly. So I think everyone who's used to me being tiny is staring at my belly. Or I don't have any breasts. And now I feel like, even though I'm kind of cool with it, that people are staring at my breasts. How do we stop telling ourselves that people are judging us when they're probably not? It's just in our head.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have something that's called negative bias. And negative bias is a genetic trait. It's hardwired into our DNA. And negative bias states that anytime you see someone who is different from you, your initial reaction is going to be negative, right? So you can understand, like, our ancestors, say you had a tribe or a village and somebody came to your village and they had different hair coloring, different skin coloring, they were different built. You would want to be suspicious of that person because you don't know if they're coming there to steal your cattle or kill your children. So anyone who was seen as different from your community or your people was judged as being negative, and you should be on alert. So this is a survival mechanism. So in our society, those people who had that survived, right? While the people who were more trusting probably didn't make it, so those when you think about it, the compassionate, loving people probably died out because they were taken advantage of and killed. So when you think about it,
Interesting.
yes, you're always going to be judged. So let's just get that out there. People are going to judge you and maybe they're gonna think, oh, your belly is big and it used to be flat. Okay, so just
Mhm.
realize that, because they have negative bias. And the thing is that we have negative bias too. So that means we're judging ourselves the same way.
Yeah.
And a survey that I read, which is fascinating, and I have this information in my book, it states that 80 to 85% of people's thoughts during the day are negative. That's a lot, right?
That's a lot.
And 95% of our total thoughts are repetitive thoughts.
Yes. I believe that.
So take that in. So when you think about that, it's like we spend a majority of our time having negative thoughts, either about somebody else or about ourselves, right?
Why is that, Annette?
Yeah.
Because of negative bias.
It's
You
just
know
in
what?
our DNA.
It's
So the way,
God, blowing my mind again. Okay.
She's so
so
good.
the only way you can stop that is being conscious of your thoughts, right? Because most of our thoughts are automatic thoughts, or so we live kind of on autopilot. So we're saying these negative things, like say a few, like last year, you're pulling up your jeans and they fit fine. But now, since we've been in COVID, you pull up those same jeans and they're really tight. And you're saying to yourself, oh my God, I'm so fat, I hate my body, okay? You're just saying that. And what happens is that over time, that becomes an automatic response every time you put on any pair of pants or you put on clothing. You have this automatic thing saying, oh, I'm so fat, I hate my body. And so you're not even realizing that you're doing that to yourself. So the only way to stop this is to be conscious of what you're saying to yourself and then stop it. Consciously stop that thought, and then you can reframe that. So if you can't go from like I hate my body to I love my body, because I know like the people do affirmations, and the thing people have to understand is it's a process. This is a process, okay? It doesn't, you don't do like one affirmation and then today you hate your body and tomorrow you love your body. It doesn't work that way. You have to work at it. So as you're working on it, you stop the negative talk. And if you can't say I love my body, at least be body neutral. And what that means is that you may not love your body today, but at least you're stopping the negative talk. Okay. So that's the first step, is being, but you have to be conscious, and it takes a while. Okay. And so once you stop your negative thought, then you can reframe it into, you're pulling up your jeans, you're thinking, oh, I feel so fat, I hate. Stop yourself and just say, hey, I'm working, I'm walking more, I'm loving my body, and I'm giving it what it needs. So you have to reframe that negative loop, because again, 95% of our thoughts are the same repetitive negative thoughts.
So I just want to go back and confirm that first part, because I love the body neutral, because that is so helpful. But I wasn't expecting the answer you gave, and I actually think it's so brilliant. So let's say I always give myself as an example just because I think it's easier. Before pre-cancer, I had like a 23-inch waistline and a very lean, flat belly. So after cancer, Michelle's like, yep. And then after cancer,
Yes, she did.
I gained about 35. I gained about 25, 30 pounds right after cancer. And I knew people were looking at that portion of my body because it expanded and it changed so much. So you're saying, yeah, it's not your imagination. People will look at it. You got to kind of find a way to move on from it then. We're DNA wired.
Don't take it on. Don't take it on.
Right. The thing is that when people are looking at you and you feel you're being judged and you feel it, just say, have your mantra be, oh, that's their negative bias.
Wow. Okay.
And don't take it personally, because everyone has negative bias. It's a survival mechanism. And people are going to always look for the bad first. Yeah. Always. And that's why they're saying, your first impression, the first 5 seconds, because like that, they're gonna, if they don't like something about you, they're gonna have a negative opinion about you, and it's all negative bias.
That's brilliant. Okay, I was not expecting that answer. That was such a fun, cool. That was a great answer. You're like, in a way, it's almost like, yeah, it is happening. So we're not crazy. Okay.
No, it's
how you look at it. It's all how you look at it.
It's reframing your mind. That's what it's all about.
Okay. Is there anything for this one, or can I move to the next question?
The action step is just having the mantra, finding a mantra that works for you when you're feeling judged. And one is like, that's their negative bias. But one mantra that I like is, my new look and self-worth is independent of the opinions of others.
Can you say that again?
My new look and self-worth is independent of the opinion of others.
Mm.
Yeah.
That is so powerful for
Yeah.
anyone, not even just a survivor. That
Yeah.
is power.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of leads me into my next question. So, Annette, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So all these things that you're helping us find acceptance and, you know, we have a question, Paul, I'll get there. Sorry, Jay, I'm getting, someone's feeding me on the side. So once we find this acceptance and we get into a better place, is there a way to turn acceptance into full power? And I know that I gave you an example before, but for instance, when my hair grew back, right, it grew back with the Taxol. I took Taxotere, which you can cause hair loss. My hairline moved back. It's more like a man's hairline now. And I remember when I was working at QVC and I first got back from cancer, they were like, oh, well, the brand, you know, can you grow your hair? It's softer. And it was the one place I was like, no, this shaved head is my power and you will not, I feel good with this. It wasn't just acceptance, it was power. And I wouldn't let anybody tell me how to change or that I had to match their standards of female beauty by growing out bangs to make somebody else more comfortable.
Right.
You know, and I was blown away by that. So is there a way now to go beyond self-acceptance and find a power piece?
Well, what you did, Jillian, is perfect because your power comes from shifting your focus on what you have, not on what you lost or what you can't change. So you embrace that, right? And that's where your power comes from, is embracing that and making the best of that. So say, you know, you don't feel comfortable anymore because, you know, of your chest, you don't have breasts, or, you know, you don't feel comfortable exposing that. Well, then find something else in your body that you love. Like say you have killer legs, show off your legs. Say you look great in the color red, wear more red. Do whatever makes you feel good, whatever makes you feel happy, and emphasize other things about you that you love. That's the one thing. That's one point. The second point is to be grateful, because gratitude will help you claim your power. And I really feel that gratitude releases unconditional love. Okay. And in a survey done with breast cancer survivors, they did a study where half of the women had gratitude journals and the other half didn't. And after a 6-month period, the women who had the gratitude journal felt less depression, less anxiety, and increased self-worth.
Wow.
So gratitude for what you have is a powerful tool that you can use to increase self-love, self-worth, and then magnify whatever you have that you want to share with the world.
Oh my God, I love that. That's fantastic. That's awesome. I'm loving this episode so much.
Our language.
Yeah, you so speak our language. And I will say there are a lot of comments in the feed, and Annette and the Beautiful Self team, we're going to go back in and we will answer any comments that are in here. So thank you everyone that's, you know, really pouring in on like, yes. And this is, we get it. And this is what's happening. So powerful, profound, preach. Everyone's like, yes, yes, yes. So we love it. Thank you so much, Annette. So
you're welcome.
As we kind of close in on this episode, can you kind of encapsulate or give us your closing on this topic, things you'd like to take us home with?
So what I want women to really understand and take away is that if this is something that's important to you, like loving yourself, loving your body, this is something that's a process. And this is something that you actually have to commit to. It's kind of like losing weight. You can't just say, I want to lose weight and not do anything about it. So I want you to understand that I think a lot of people just think that, oh, I can do affirmations that I love myself and I should be okay. And it doesn't work that way, because this is a very complex issue, because your feelings of not loving yourself could stem from your childhood and things that your parents told you, or it can stem from, you know, your recent surgery and battle with cancer. So it's like not a one answer fits everybody. So, you know, I want people to feel free to contact me afterwards. And for a free consultation, it's 50 minutes, not 15, but 50. And just be kind to yourself and realize if you embark on that, you have to ask yourself the question, first of all, how important is it for me to love myself and my body on a scale of 1 to 10? How important is that to you, right? It may not be that important, right? But if it is important to you, on a scale of 1 to 10, you have to ask yourself, well, how motivated am I to make the changes? Because I want people to understand that if you commit yourself and you work on this and you make the changes, these changes of loving yourself and accepting yourself is going to pay off big time. It's going to make a drastic change in your life, and it's for the better. And whatever changes you make today are going to serve you for the next, until the day you die. Because when I was diagnosed with cancer in my mid-30s, I didn't love myself. I didn't take care of my body. I didn't exercise. I didn't eat healthy. I was very negative. And I made a commitment after I was diagnosed with cancer to learn to love myself, because I came from a very abusive childhood. And it was work. And it literally, I honestly say it took me 2 to 3 years because I had a lot of stuff to work on. But that has paid off in spades, because I'm going to be 61 next Tuesday.
Oh, looking fine, Annette. Looking good.
And I'm healthy. I'm healthy. I'm active.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not on any medications. I don't have any underlying conditions. And that's because of the changes I made when I was in my 30s, right? And I love myself. And that's because I did the work in my 30s. And everything in my life is a reflection of that love that I have for myself and my life and the people around me. Mm-hmm. So I did the work. It wasn't easy, but it's so worth it. So I'm really encouraging your listeners to take the time and work with somebody if you need to, but take the time to learn how to love yourself and your body, because it'll pay off. Because once you love your body, it's going to take your health and wellness to a whole new level. Because when you love your body, you're not going to be stuffing it with junk food. You're not going to be self-medicating with drugs and alcohol. You're going to, your body moves. Your body loves to move. Your body was not made to be sedentary. So you're going to do things that your body enjoys doing, like maybe it's dancing. Maybe you don't want to exercise, but you can dance. So it's going to change your life in ways that you can't even imagine right now. So I'm really encouraging your listeners to take that journey. It's a journey, and it's so worth it.
Well, I certainly hope that our listeners, our survivors out there, reach out to you, because you are amazing. I thought this episode was spectacular. We got so much from it. Unbelievable. I am excited also next week, because we're going to take on survivor guilt with you. And that comes in many shapes and forms. So I'm excited for next week, just as much as I've been excited for these past 2 weeks with you. And everyone, I want to thank you for tuning in. Leave your questions. We will get back to you. Thank you, all of you, for your comments. And, we're excited to see you next week. So we will be back. And as always, Michelle, as we say, stay strong, stay positive. You are beautiful. And Annette, thank you so much. And we'll see everybody next week. This is wonderful. Thank you for such valuable information.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Bye.